Okay, so most of the unlearned Christians, bugged out Catholics, uh, retarded, lost, uh, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans out there, right, who want to claim that the men of the Lord are doing these things, right? Most of them, right, can be dismissed once you reveal the definition of those words. But then there's one devil here, one devil there that will get smart, and they have these precepts that they'll go to, right? They got taught by their false prophet up at the spiritual whorehouse, that they call a church, and they got taught, they got taught certain precepts that they could run to, just like John 3:16. Man, John 3:16, man, they run to that one the most, man. They have no idea what it's talking about, no idea what it's saying. But that's an example of these precepts that their false prophet has given them. Their spiritual pimp gave them, so they can run to it. And they think they're going to make a point with it. But they err not knowing the scriptures. Okay, so let's start off with Ephesians 5:4. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting. Oh wait, let's actually start at 3. Alright, Ephesians 5:3. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you, as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Alright, so they're going to run to this, alright? And that's what they're going to refer to as rude speech, filthiness, foolish talking, or jesting. All right. So let's get a further understanding of what it's saying here. All right. Now the filthiness. All right. Let's see. Filthiness. All right. Where is it at? Obscenity, filthiness. Let's go to the root word to find a better definition. Okay. Filthy, baseness, dishonor. All right. So when you're talking about the words of the Holy Scriptures, right? There's nothing filthy about that, okay? Absolutely nothing filthy or dishonorable or base about the Holy Scriptures, the message comes from the heavens above, okay? Those are the words of Yahawa, all right? So it's definitely not filthy, okay? Once again, it's referring to subject matter. It's not referring to word choice, okay? Now let's go with foolish talking, and I'm going to bring up a couple of precepts to explain that. Here we go. Psalms 14:1. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. That's foolish talking. Alright. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none that doeth good. Alright. To further reinforce that, Ecclesiastes 5:1. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. All right, be more ready to hear, right, than to open your stank breath mouth, use words you don't know the definition of, and accuse and slander the men of the Lord, saying that they're doing things that they're absolutely not doing, right? Cursing, profanity, and swearing, right? For they consider not that they do evil. So these peon fake Christians, these bugged out Catholics, these retarded ass so-called white people, Esau Edom, right? That they're completely guilty of this. They're making the sacrifice of fools, right? And they don't even consider that they're doing evil. Why? Because they're unlearned, man. They're ignorant. They're not of the initiated. They're not of the anointed, man. So of course, man, and that's the foolish talking it's referring to, So it's not filthiness, right? Because these are the words of the Most High being brought forth direct and abrupt with rude speech, but it still is a clean the message is still clean, okay? Nor foolish talking, right? We just went over that. Nor jesting. Now we used to have this saying in the army, it's called smoking and joking, right? Playing grab ass. That means you're BSing, man. You're not talking about anything at all, man. Bunch of idle words that aren't going anywhere, okay? Now Israel, the men of the Lord out there pushing the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, do they use humor? Yes, they use humor, but pertaining to the scriptures, and still pushing the word out in all seriousness. Now, why does Israel, why do the men of the Lord use humor? Because, as the saying goes, you gotta laugh to keep from crying, man. Because if you don't find a little bit of humor when bringing out this lamentations, mourning, and woe, man, you're literally gonna weep. And some of the brothers, they do get passionate out there, man. They're on the highways and byways. When they're sighing and crying, they do get passionate, and they get so passionate, right, that tears do form in their eyes, man. So that's why Israel, the men of the Lord, uses humor, man. It's to keep them from going off, from getting angry, from weeping, so they use a little bit of humor, and gird their loins up, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, but it's not it's not what the world, it's not what these unlearned Christians or Catholics or these so-called white people, it's not what they want it to be. They just want to find offense so they can dismiss the message, so they can dismiss the words of Yahweh. Okay, let's move on. Then let's look into that word idol, man, in Matthew 12:36. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Let's look into that word idle. Okay, and I want you to focus on this right here. Barren, okay? Right? Now when a woman is barren, she can't bring forth a child. Alright? Now when something is barren, right? Like the land is barren, right? That means it's not producing what? Fruit. Okay? So if your topic of conversation, the words that you are speaking, is not edifying or producing fruit, then you are guilty of this. Alright? And that's really what the filthiness, the profane, and things like that. That's really what that means, man. Idle words, man. Words that don't amount to a damn thing. Okay. Ephesians 4:31. Okay. Now here's another one that they run to right here. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. But this is referring to the remnant of Israel amongst themselves, not towards the heathen nations, amongst themselves, just like the law, statutes, and commandments were only made for Israel, and now only really are going to be found to be followed or attempted to be followed amongst the remnant of Israel, the 144,000 men and the 1/3 of Israel, right? The hopeful elect. Ephesians 4:32. And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. All right? Once again, this is just talking about Israel, to Israel, and not even all of Israel, and we're going to prove that, right? Just the hopeful elect.